Anytime anybody tries to make a car, actually produce a car, electric or otherwise, they run into production nightmares. This is happening with almost every startup across the board. Maybe you can think of a company that perhaps announced a vehicle that was coming, took a whole bunch of pre-orders, and then it's just continued to push the date back and back and back. Can you think of anything at all? Well, of course, Tesla faced this when they started as a company, and they're facing it again now with the Cybertruck. But you might remember when Tesla started, they were on life support. They had so many problems getting cars made that they actually laid off a bunch of engineers. And if it wasn't for a $500 million loan from the federal government, there would probably be no Tesla today. Production nightmares are real and they're serious and they affect almost everybody. Think too of another company, a great company, Lucid. The Lucid Air is such a gorgeous vehicle. Has it where it counts, Motor Trend Car of the Year last year. But many times over, they've had to push back their production projections because of the nightmares they face trying to make a car. It's just what happens. It's to be expected. But then a company comes along like Fisker with the Fisker Ocean. And not only have they not had to push back production projections, but they may exceed how many cars they originally said they would make in a year. So the difference? They're not making their own cars. They contracted a big company that does nothing but makes cars and says, hey, here's our designs, make our cars. And that has meant no production nightmares for Fisker. So what about our beloved Aptera? Where does Aptera land? Is it going to be a Tesla nightmare situation in the beginning or a smooth sailing Fisker situation in the beginning? Well, to get the answer, let's go right to Chris Anthony. When Sarah and I talked to him last month, we put the question to him about production. What is it going to be like for Aptera? What is the production plan? And listen to what he said, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
We just want to work with capable, valuable partners around the world to make solar mobility a thing for all.
So the answer, is Aptera going to be like Tesla or is Aptera going to be like Fisker? Neither. Totally different. Aptera is going to be building the cars, sure enough, assembling them here, but they've made key partners across the world, across the globe, to get the right parts for people who know how to make them to California so it can be assembled. You might remember the deal with Red Viking. That's those little tiny robot machines that could just take the vehicle to the next station so the next part can be put on. That's the production plans for Aptera. So they will avoid a lot of what Tesla and Lucid and others have faced when it comes to production because of these partnerships. Let's talk about some of these partnerships specifically. Remember the one about the wiring, Yazaki? This is a company that has done this forever. They know what to do, and the outcome already has been great. Here's what Chris had to say about the wiring when it comes to Aptera.
A typical wiring harness in a Civic or a Camry can weigh up to 90 pounds. Our wiring harness weighs 30 pounds.
So all that weight saved, all the headaches saved by having a company who knows what they're doing help with the wiring harnesses and such. Excellent partnerships. Before I get to more, I need to say a big thank you to our channel members. You're the ones that make this channel work. Because of you, we can afford microphones, lights, fancy green screens, stuff like that. Thank you for being you. Also, Bob Newchow for the coffee. Can't thank you enough. Dean McManus, you bought us coffee recently. Thank you, Professor Dean. We appreciate you. And Lola, thank you for the coffee. And as you requested, we scratched Rugen's chin, just like you said to do. And a big thank you to Charles Anthony, one of our newest members, but also he sent us a super thanks, which was very kind of you, Charles. Thank you so much for that. Now let's get to more of the show. And then when it comes to solar, you know, Aptera's been doing all this testing nonstop, trying to figure out just the right way to make the solar work. And they have a great partnership with Maxeon. You might remember Steve Feinborough just talked about this the other day.
We recently announced that we've begun low volume production of our automotive grade solar panels. We're using Maxeon's Gen 3 solar cells. It's an exciting milestone to our path to get you into the driver's seat of an Aptera as soon as possible.
And when it comes to batteries, now you could build a huge battery plant. You could try to figure out how to engineer the perfect battery, or you could go to a company that understands battery technology, how they work, how to get the weight and density and everything you need in the right place for your vehicle. And that's what Aptera did by contracting with Eve for the batteries. So you really starting to see the picture unravel here a little bit. We're not going to have production nightmares like other companies have had, because Aptera has made the right partnerships. Not the least of those is LAFI, the ones who make the motors, the in-wheel motors. The one that they finally settled on was made just for Aptera, and we got to see it when we toured the Aptera factory. Here's Chris talking about it just a little bit.
The new version of our production motor, this is the first one that's been put together, so it's amazing to see, but this is the motor that will go on our production vehicles.
And then, of course, we're all very excited about the newest announcement of CPC Group in Italy. Now, this is the company that makes the bodies for supercars, Maseratis, Ferraris, the cars that you dream about as a child, and as a grown-up child you still dream about. Well, because Aptera is using the same people, we get to have an Italian supercar, but it's made in America, and it only costs $25,900. So it's going to be pretty amazing to think about you and I, dropping less than 30 grand and driving around in a company or a car with the body was made in the same place Lamborghinis and such are made. Pretty awesome stuff. And one of the other great partnerships is a partnership with Monroe & Associates, a company that knows how to set up and produce automobiles. The brain trust behind the Dodge Viper, Sandy Monroe. And this is what he had to say about the CPC Group in Italy.
All right, so I've had a chance to go to CPC's headquarters in Italy. I have the chance to look at their technology, and they can make a perfect build. I'm very impressed. I think that the CPC bodies that would be created would give Aptera the perfect build, which would mean first time right capability for the closures and the deck lid. Everything would fit right first time, and that's kind of what the holy grail is for the manufacturer of any type of a product.
And the CEO, Franco Ioria, the CEO of CPC Group, this is what he had to say about the Aptera partnership. He said this: Aptera represents a shift away from conventional thinking of the past. We desire to be part of this future, which is why we're joining Aptera's movement. We'll be building the bodies for the unique solar vehicle in the heart of Motor Valley, allowing Aptera to scale up manufacturing right away to meet the high demand for its first vehicle. Awesome, right? Like he said in his statement there that it's going to help them to ramp up and get up to full production sooner, because a lot of us are in line. Some 30,000 plus have already pre-ordered the Aptera. So all good news. Aptera is going to avoid the nightmares that come with trying to produce a car from the ground up in-house. And they're still going to have their hands on the project by doing the assembly themselves, along with these great partners and Monroe Associates. And because of that, we're going to get our car sooner, and it's going to cost less money. My client has been accused of a heinous crime that goes against all social media norms. My client, which I will prove, is completely innocent of these charges. If he is guilty of anything, it is bad humor and simple-mindedness. At this time, my client will read a statement, and there will be no questions at this time. Go ahead. On April 27, 2022, I posted a video with the following thumbnail: Big, really big, Aptera news, huge. The title of this misguided attempt to show the simplicity of the pre-order system was, quote, Aptera, breaking news, scary, unquote. It has been brought to my attention that some people felt that they were baited to click, thus concluding that I intentionally created clickbait, which is the lowest form of content on YouTube. For those who were hurt by this incident, this innocent attempt to help people understand the simple pre-order process of the Aptera, my deepest, heartfelt apologies. We here at Drive the Lightning pride ourselves on unbiased, upfront, hard-hitting journalism catered to the automotive electric car enthusiast population. And we will work tirelessly to regain your trust. Thank you, and I'm sorry.